Hello, good evening. Is this your first time here? You have to unmute yourself, otherwise cannot hear you.
We
Oh,
go.
great.
There we go.
Here we
Okay.
go. Yeah, great. Where are you from?
Ohio.
Ohio, great. I'm in
Yeah.
Europe, in Slovakia.
Oh, okay. My people came from Slovakia. My mother's
Wow.
side. My
Wow.
mother's side. Yeah. Banco.
Benko?
That was their last name.
Wow. That's great. That's wonderful. So is this your first time taking the webinar? This is
No, no,
no?
honey. Yeah, no. I think it's first time that I was able to get on with you.
Oh, great.
I'm always getting recordings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's my fault too. I have other things that I'm doing during that time, so I'm glad to get the recordings when I can.
Great. There's another lady coming in. Hello, hello. Someone is next to the sea or has a nice picture behind. Love that. It's already 9 o'clock here. So, what is bringing you to this webinar? Tell me.
Me,
Mhm.
uh, just I think Father Matthew Fox
Okay.
had talked about Hildegard
Okay.
in such a way that inspired me to look into everything that she had done. So looking at the plants and the medicines and things like that, as well as the beautiful music that she created.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
On YouTube, you will find quite a lot of music for free, so you can
oh,
listen to it. Yeah.
oh,
When you
good.
type in a YouTube Hildegard, then it will pop up a lot of really nice CDs or even like separate songs, but you get a variety so you can choose what you want. I also have one CD at home, but such a special music that you really have to reserve time to listen to it.
Right,
You cannot be doing anything else. Just you sit down and you just listen. That's it.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So it's
Yeah.
not the type of music that you can be cleaning your house and listening to Hildegard. It doesn't somehow it just doesn't
No,
go.
I
Yeah.
agree. More
Yeah.
meditative, more meditative. Yeah.
That's great. Okay,
Mhm.
so let us start. I have a presentation to help me with. So
Okay.
you also have well, let me get organized here. Someone is here sending some kind of WhatsApp. We don't need that. We need to get into Hildegard tonight. So great to have you here because the last time I only had one lady. I do understand that the time is not the best one. Actually, I wanted to do it an hour later, but it's too late for me. I have to work tomorrow. So getting up at 6 in the morning is just sometimes killing me. So let's start. We'll go with the part three. In the last lesson we were talking about the subtilitas. That's the hidden healing power in the food that we have around. The hidden healing power is also in plants, in stones, in metals, in animals, reptiles, everything basically. That Hildegard writes. What Hildegard writes about, she always writes about the healing aspect of the things around us. We also talked a little bit about the vices and virtues. There exist 35 pairs, and actually they are linked to our backbone. So you can even identify if you do have any kind of problem in the backbone, then you can relate to this pair, vices and virtues. And that's what Hildegard wrote in her book, that when you work on your vices, then and turn them into virtues, then it does have a strong effect on your physical health. She basically links our soul with our body and making it a unity. Of course, the soul is I would say, a very strong force in us that is creating the health condition that we are living, basically. So that's what we have to understand. And as I said before, our body is influenced by food and then by our soul. We talk about the quince. I don't know if you have a chance in the US to have this special type of fruit. And we were talking about the spelt. I was explaining how the spelt is working in our body step by step, was breaking down what she wrote and I would say transposing it into the modern science or the knowledge that we have of these days. So, and we'll move on today. We also talked about the concept of discretio, so it's the right measure in everything. Remember that it's finding the right measure or the right amount in your food, in your sleep, in your work, in everything. So as long as you keep your own discretio that is individual to you, then everything would, I would say, be so to say in the harmony, or you will create the base for your harmony in your life. So, and not to do, it's a very important not to overdo anything in your life. So don't push yourself hard to do certain things if you don't have the time or you need to sleep, or don't overeat because it will hurt your soul and also your body. So just try to really find the right measure. Today we'll be talking about the salt. Salt is I would say the basic. Without the salt in our food, we really can survive. And in the book Physica, I talked about and I showed that there is a picture in the first lesson in the part one. There's a picture of the book Physica. If I show it to you, I think no, I don't get the picture. The Zoom will basically blur the book, so I'm gonna show it to you. But there is a picture in the presentation, so you might come back to it.
Okay.
So we go over. Salt is very hot and somewhat moist and useful for many human uses. If a person eats food without salt, he will be lukewarm inside, but if he eats food mixed with salt, the food will strengthen him and make him well. But if a man eats too much salty food, it dries him up inside and harms him. And then the salt falls on his lungs like sand and dries up the lungs because the lungs they seek moisture and thus injure and vaporize the lungs. So what we see here is the description that we should be following our discretio in eating salt. The salt and if we eat too much, Hildegard is saying the salt will fall on the lungs and will injure and vaporize the lungs. So be careful if someone is having heavy troubles with the lungs for no, I would say, clear reason. It might be due to the salt intake. So he's eating too much salt, as Hildegard is writing. And if it then also falls on the liver, it harms it a little, even though the liver is strong and even if it can handle salt. Therefore, every food must be salted so that the food has more of its own taste than salty. So we see here right from the beginning the description that every time you are cooking a food, please try to incorporate the salt into the food during the cooking process. And we have a clear instruction here that we should feel more of its own taste than the salt in the food. This is the last sentence.
Right.
Okay, so please don't sprinkle like the salt at your table. Don't sprinkle the food, but rather during the cooking process, try to incorporate as much salt as you feel that is right for the food. And remember, it should have its more of its own taste than salty. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what Hildegard is saying, and that's very important to follow. Also, about the salt, she writes furthermore, salt dried over fire is healthier than raw salt because the moisture that was in it has dried up And if a person eats it with bread or other food together, it is good and healthy for him. This is a very interesting thing because before I called up a couple of salt companies to find out how do they get the salt out of the earth. There's a traditional way when they dig a big hole and they take basically the salt out. That's the one way. The other way is when they dig a hole, they fill it with water and they pump out the salty water and then they evaporate the water and they are left with the salt. So this is some kind of a process, I would say, the closest as Hildegard is saying, that is as a salt dried over fire. But I used to, I love like old stories, and I used to watch Marco Polo story. And in Marco Polo story, there was this interesting salt mine in China. So they were also bringing basically this water full of salt. They were bringing it to fire and they were cooking it over the fire, just trying to evaporate the liquid and being left with the salt. So, this is according to Hildegard the healthiest salt that you can get. What she's furthermore writing is, however, white salt has greater values than other salt and a certain moisture and is useful for humans and for all medicines. But if a person eats salt without moderation, the lungs will wither and get damaged. So the question right now is, what is a good salt? So I would say, uh, if someone tells me that he eats sea salt is basically everywhere on the earth. There's not a single place that doesn't have a sea salt. A lot of times, people are using the salt from the oceans, basically today's oceans. Me personally, this is not Hildegard's opinion. I like the salt that is being dug from the earth, so being excavated from the earth. Why? Because I think it's much, I would say, it's cleaner. Because in today's oceans and seas, I guess there's a lot of pollution going on, and there's this microplastic and everything else. So, in my opinion, this type of salt that is being excavated from the deep from the deep earth is much better for us in terms of being clean. And also in my country, I can buy a salt that was excavated from the earth and that was cooked over fire. If you don't have such a salt, what you can do, you can buy the salt, you can spread it out on a baking tin, and basically you can bake it. You will treat it with fire. That's what she is saying here in the first sentence. Salt dried over fire. You see here the first one. So, oops. So when you want to really go according to Hildegard, then you can do this, or you can use a pan, a single or any type of cooking utensil, and you can heat it up basically someplace over fire. I don't know if you do have a gas heater or anything else at home. I personally have the gas heater, so I can use it. So, um, in old and modern foods, salt is usually used as a preservative. But we should be aware of, there is in the, I would say, modern times, what is happening. Salt, the combination of salt, sugar, and oil is a very tempting one. And the modern science, what they do, they find the right ratio of these three parts, salt, sugar, and oil. And a lot of times they use it as a seasoning for chips or anything else that make us addictive. So it's because salt and sugar are the, I would say, the opposites, and the oil, they create together the perfect, I would say, combination how to change the perception of the real taste of the food. And that's how usually how we get in modern times, I would say, triggered to eat more of a certain foods, like for example chips. So we should be aware of this, and we should be avoiding it in a future also. Any questions, ladies, on salt? Anyone has any question?
I use kosher salt if that's okay. Um,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
yeah, because it seems to be the one that you could bake with easily.
Okay.
And, it comes much easier for everything. I do use sea salt on cookies sometimes because it brings out a real salty flavor, but just a little bit.
It's nice.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, that's very nice. Um, Salt, uh, basically, there are many types of salt. I got a question last time. It's a Himalayan salt good for us. I cannot really answer it. Hildegard writes that white salt has greater values than other salt. I follow the Hildegard, I must say. Once in a while, I use the Himalayan pink salt just to how to say that, just to have like more variety. But what is interesting about salt, each salt is different in terms of I would say the saltiness. So when you, for example, you are used to cooking with one type of salt and you change the producer and you start using another one, then you might realize that his salt might be different in taste. Like you will need to maybe add more salt into your food to achieve the same level of saltiness. Also, try to avoid any type of chemicals in salt. Salt should be bought just like salt without any additives. So that's the best one that I can recommend in terms of Hildegard cooking that I've been doing for the past 18 years. So let us move to another one. We'll be talking about leek. Leek is actually a vegetable that I mentioned before, I think in part one, but I couldn't record it because my computer went down. And leek has a negative subtilitas. It's actually leek doesn't have a good impact on human body, and we'll breaking down why is it according to Hildegard. So in a physical book, you will find leek contains a blazing, quick, and useless heat like worthless wood or shavings, which burns quickly and quickly collapses in the fire and torments one with lust. So in the first sentence, we see, first of all, we see the description of the energy. Leek
Mhm,
contains a blazing, quick, and useless heat. So it has an extra heat that is not good for us, like worthless wood, you
mhm,
see?
mhm,
And what it does to our body, it torments one with lust. So it's a type of vegetable that will create lust in someone. Not everyone will, I would say, experience this strong lust.
mhm,
Actually, Hildegard has this, or she knows, or she describes four types of persons, and this one type is very sensitive to all of these things. So it's,
mhm,
for example, me. My husband is not that sensitive, so he won't feel it. I will feel it. In its raw state, it's evil and loathsome to man as a poisonous and useless herb because it gets blood, putreficative products, and human juices into unpleasant heat or storms, so that the blood in people doesn't grow properly because of it, and the putrefaction in people due to the leak doesn't decrease, and it does not clean the bad juices. So we
mhm,
see here what is actually happening in our body after eating the leek. It doesn't create a good blood. It's
mhm,
an interesting statement that Hildegard said 900 years ago because the blood is the source of our basically health. And we know it also from the modern science that every time you go to a doctor, your doctor takes your blood just to check how if you are healthy or not. That's what we know.
mhm,
So, and Hildegard wrote this 900 years ago. So for me, it's fascinating.
mhm,
So she completely described what this leak does to our body. So it doesn't grow properly because of it, and the putrefaction in people due to the leak doesn't decrease. So what happens in our digestion or during when we are digesting different foods, of course, there are certain things that we need to get rid of our body. That's the putrefaction in people. So the leak doesn't help us to get this bad stuff out of our body and clean the bad juices. Actually, Hildegard said our health depends on four types of juices. I'm not going to go deep into that topic. I just want to say normally we have in our body two types of good juices and two type of bad juices. And when we keep them in equilibrium, then we stay healthy. And leek basically is supporting the bad juices and doesn't clean the bad juices. And if it does not, it will just kick the equilibrium. So for someone who is very sick and who will be eating leek, he might feel worse in terms of his health state. It will have a negative effect on his body.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we're going to read a little bit more. But whoever wants to eat raw leek, pickle it in wine and salt first or in vinegar, and leave it in wine and salt or in vinegar until it becomes so weak that it loses its evil power, that is, from morning until noon or from evening until morning, and this is good for healthy people to eat in moderation. So again, at the same time that Hildegard said in the first description that leek is not good for us, if we do want to eat it, she writes how to basically bring it into moderation, how to soften it. So if you would like to eat the leek and you are healthy, then we will pickle the leek in wine and salt first. And we can do it in the morning or we can do it overnight or in vinegar. That's the message here.
Mhm.
So if I know a lot of people love leek and love cooking with it, it's up to you to decide if you continue to eat this vegetable or not. My sensitivity personally is very high, so I don't eat leek because I wouldn't feel good after eating it. And the last sentence is, but it's not fit for the sick to eat, either raw or cooked, because their blood has no real heat, and the putrefacitive products are agitated and the juice is frothy. Therefore, when a sick person eats leek, all this boils inside. Neither raw nor cooked is good for the sick. So we see what is the subtilitas here. The subtilitas here is rather negative than positive, I would say. So
Mhm.
if you don't feel well, please don't eat leek. If you do love to eat leek, you can basically pickle it, as we said before. That's the best to do. After the pickle time, just take the leek, wash it, and then just process it the way that you usually do if you are healthy. But if you have any type of health issue, for example, with your joints or with your muscles or anything, please stop eating leek. It's not good for you. In the long run, it doesn't create the good blood inside your body that you need for in order to stay healthy. So this is I would say, mechanics of the leak inside our body. This is I would say, example of a food that is not good for us to eat with the negative subtilitas. But what is interesting in Hildegard books, you will find that even though she describes the negative subtilitas, in the next paragraph she says, okay, if you really want to eat it and you are healthy, you can do so, but you have to make certain steps. So that's for me very fascinating, I must say, with Hildegard. Okay, let's move on to another food that has a positive subtilitas. In the book Physica, we can read about the beans the following. Beans are warm, suitable for healthy and strong people, and better than peas because when the sick eat beans, they do not harm them much, because they do not cause so much rot and mucus in them as peas. So again, in the first sentence, she's comparing beans. First of all, they are warm, so they are bringing us a good energy that is good for us. And she's saying in the second sentence, they are better than peas because peas don't create rot and mucus inside us. Actually, peas are not good to eat for people that have lung problems because they have this mucus and rot, and they will just peas when those people eat peas, they will just create a problem for them. So just a switch and take the beans instead. Bean flour is good and useful for both sick and healthy people because it's mild and easy to digest. So again, when you walk into the store, you will see different type of flours and you can start using bean flour. I actually use bean flour in my cooking. When I create vegetable patties, I don't use the flour or I use the spelt flour just a little bit and then I add the bean flour or chickpea flour. So this way you can be adding a lot of fiber into your diet naturally. And also Hildegard, as she wrote here, bean flour is good and useful, also for sick people, but also for healthy people. So that's what I love. But whoever has ailments of the internal organs, intestines, or any type of internal organs, let him boil beans in water, add a little lard or oil, strain the beans and drink hot water or drink this hot water from it. He should do it often and it heals him internally because the bean broth helps with pain in the internal organs. The added lard and oil will dissolve the pain. So it's basically cooking the bean soup without the beans. So if you have someone who has I mean, from time to time, some kind of inner pain, of course, first step is to consult a doctor, and second step, you can cook him this bean soup without the beans. So, what do you think? What is the subtilitas? What subtilitas do we have here? What healing power do we have here? Is it positive? What do you think?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yes, exactly. So the beans are very good for us to eat. So any type of beans there are, I mean, on Earth there are so many beans, unbelievable, different colors, different shapes. So we are talking about every bean on this earth. There's this wonderful, small, very dark red bean. It's called atsuki. They have in Japan. In South America, I think they have these black beans. So choose your favorite beans that you would like to eat and just simply eat the beans because they're wonderful. Lemons.
Mm.
It's actually, I had a post today about these lemons, and in the Physica book, there's actually, it's interesting, there's no description of the fruit in the book, but there is a description of the tree. And we are going to be working with the tree description. The lemon tree where the lemons grow is more warm than cold and means chastity. Interesting. I don't know why, but she links every time she links trees with anything, something like a plum tree means anger. Yeah. But the lemon tree means chastity. And again, from the energy point of view, is more warm than cold. So it does have a good energy for us. A person who has a daytime fever should boil the leaves of this tree in wine, strain the wine through a cloth, and drink often, and he will be cured. What is a daytime fever? Daytime fever is usually when people have like elevated fever during the day. So the regular temperature, I can convert it to Fahrenheit. Sorry, it's a 36.5 down here in Europe. So if it's elevated, it's 1 point more, it's 37.5. So next time I'll just prepare the Fahrenheit numbers. But still, here is a wonderful description of a healing remedy. So he should boil the leaves of this tree in wine. Usually her remedies are based on wine. Don't be scared. what you can take, you will just take a glass of wine. You will take about 3, 4 leaves of the lemon tree. You can boil it, strain it through a cloth. Well, you will boil it and strain it, and you can drink it. But also the fruits of this tree, when eaten, suppress the fever of man, because they have good heat and good powers. For the heat of this tree, mixed with the increased warmth of the wine, will reduce the heat. So, what subtilitas do we have here? What do you think? Positive?
Positive.
Positive. Wonderful. Also, I want to adhere, if you can choose between the natural and synthetic vitamin C, always go for the natural, because the
Mhm.
natural will absorb your body much more easier. It's a easier absorption compared to the synthetic vitamin C. Okay. What I will be doing in the coming future is the online course on the healing food of San Hildegard. We will be starting on the 3rd of March. It will be finishing on the 20th of April. And what I will do, I will continue teaching like this about the food of Hildegard. And there is a recipe for every week. There are 6 weeks actually. And we have a cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner would be the same food. And the food will be based on basically spelt. All of the recipes will be vegan. They will be kind of simple for cooking, and we'll be using the healing ingredients and Hildegard spices. I think you know something about the spicy, don't you know? It's the Bertram and Galanga root. It's a kind of easy cooking with shortcuts. And in the online course, I have the shopping list, the total, and also per week. And I will encourage you to join my course, because we will be going like one lecture per week. So every Thursday we'll have like a questions and answers, and we'll agree on the time. I will try to adjust as much as I can from the time point of view. How much time you would need per week? You will need about 1.5 to 2 hours per week. So breaking down, it's about 30 minutes for learning about Hildegard's healing food, 30 minutes for cooking for the day, and some shopping time. The cost of the course is 99 euros, which is approximately 104 US dollars. And here is the course link. I should have copied it before, just to give it into the chat. Let me do that for you, so you can get the you can have a look at the course if you would like to. There are also some videos on my YouTube channel. So if you would like to see some, I will be adding some more. I'm planning to add some videos about the immunity, about the spring. In the springtime, what is also important to know or to say, that is excellent time to do fasting. And there are 3 types of fast that Hildegard has. And I'll be talking about this fasting in the video, but let me give you the link to the course so you can check it out if you would like to. Someone is writing here, hello from Malta. Wow, Marlene, hello. I ate
Hello.
time. Hello, I ate times use Himalayan salt. It has become more popular in Europe recently. I don't know how much Hildegard and other people in Europe knew about Himalayan salt in her time. I don't think anybody knew at her time about the Himalayan salt here in Europe.
Mhm.
There are business routes all over the place, I guess. There are, as she lived in Germany, I think she had access to certain foods, but still it was limited. Like she doesn't write about potatoes, she doesn't write about tomatoes or
Mhm.
paprika.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
a lot of times it happens that if certain people have like a serious health issues and they stop eating these nightshades, because they all these plants belong to a nightshade families, then their health improves. So, but I cannot say what are the healing powers inside tomatoes and potatoes. I'm sorry. So what I will be trying to do in the course, basically, you'll be cooking one time per week. The cooking day would be Friday, but you can be choosing any day of the week. And the recipes are very easy to make. We'll be also baking spelt focaccia that is very nice. Everybody loves it in the course. And I do these courses usually in the springtime and in the fall time. Why? Because it's a vegan food, and if you do the vegan food one time per week, it will help your body to basically clean itself naturally. So it's like a fasting, it's an easy fasting method, how you can support your body. That's why I'm doing this course every time. So this is all from me today. I would love to thank you for your attention, for your positive energy. It was a pleasure to have you here today. We have still 4 minutes to go, so I'm ready to take your questions if you have.
Thank you, Petra.
You're welcome. Also, there is a monthly newsletter, so if you would like to, just send me an email and I will sign you up. And in the monthly newsletter, you always get like 4 topics. I usually, write about plants or the actually what is happening in the season. It's like it's all in Hildegard spirit. So I don't mix there anything else. I just inform once in a while about the course that is coming up, like this one. I would say I love to teach. I also teach in my own language, in Slovak language, in a Catholic center here about Hildegard. And in person, I'll be also doing here in Slovakia like a fasting group. I will take like 10 people who will do a fast in March. So like like we'll go to a different place and I will stay with the people for 3 days and we'll be doing the fasting. So Hildegard is wonderful, I must say, and I've been doing it for the 18 years, and I must admit that her remedies really work. It's a slow medicine. It's not like pills that, after 3, 4 times you will get rid of something, but her medicine really does a lot of times magic if God wants. That's the most important to add, that if God wants, then everybody will get healthy. So that's all for me, ladies.
Thank
And
you,
I
Petra.
Thank you
hope to
very
see you.
much.
Thank you too. I hope to see you also next time. And I'll be adding the videos to the YouTube. So then you get a chance to have a look at the videos on YouTube. I'll be adding different topics there so you can listen to it and you can grow your knowledge. And just look for the book. I cannot, if I show it, I will just Zoom doesn't show it. I'm sorry. That's the only book I can get in English is the Physica. So you can purchase it someplace.
If you bring it back more, maybe it'll focus.
No, no,
No,
it's in the first presentation. There is a picture. So go back, please, to the first presentation, part 1, and you will see the picture of the Physica book. It's by Priscilla Troop. It's a nice book, so you can continue and expand your knowledge. So,
yeah, that's wonderful.
yeah,
I'm so glad that I heard about Hildegard from Father Fox and that she's a doctor of the church,
yeah,
as well as, knowing all of this.
yeah.
But I really appreciate it. Thank you so much,
You're
Petra.
welcome. Have a wonderful day and
You
hope to
Thank
too.
you
see
very
you.
much.
Hope to see you in the coming future. Bye,
Thank you
ladies.
so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.